It was one of those sweltering summer barbecues where the whole neighborhood somehow ends up in your backyard, eating your food, drinking your drinks, and pretending everyone actually enjoys each other's company. I was at the grill, flipping burgers, trying to lose myself in the heat of the sun and the sound of kids racing around the yard. Laura, my wife, moved through the crowd like she always did, effortlessly charming, laughing with a glass of wine that never seemed to empty. Then it happened. She leaned toward a small group of friends, laughter bubbling out of her, and said, loud enough for half the yard to hear, "Anyone want to trade husbands?" I froze, the spatula suddenly heavy in my hand. A joke, I tried telling myself. It's just a stupid joke. But the words hung in the air like a blade suspended over my chest. People chuckled awkwardly, some rolling their eyes, others giving those forced smiles people use when they don't know where to look. Then came his voice. Greg, the neighbor, warm, casual, too confident. "I'll take him," he said with a grin, like he'd been waiting for the opportunity. The yard fell silent. A few strained giggles tried to patch the tension, but they died quickly. No one looked at me. Heat rushed to my face. Anger, humiliation, confusion all tangled together. Laura blinked in surprise for half a second, then slipped right back into her bright, playful smile. The I was only joking smile she used whenever she crossed a line and expected me to move it for her. I didn't say a word. I set down the spatula and walked toward the far side of the yard, letting the moment sink its teeth into me. And then the pieces I'd ignored for months began falling into place. The late-night phone calls. She ended quickly when I walked into the room. The texts she claimed were nothing important. The faint scent of cologne on her sweater. Definitely not mine. The sudden distance in her voice when certain people's names came up. I had brushed it all aside. Told myself I was imagining things. Told myself I was overthinking, being paranoid. But that moment, public, humiliating, undeniable, shattered illusion. When I returned to the crowd, people were laughing again, but something had shifted. The air felt heavier. Conversations were shorter. Eyes darted away from mine. I could feel the whispers even when I couldn't hear them. Laura approached me, fingers brushing my arm like she could smooth over the damage with a single touch. "Relax," she whispered. "It was just a joke. Don't make a thing." I looked at her, really looked. That old glint of playful mischief was still there, but it didn't match her words. It didn't match anything anymore. It was a joke. I murmured, not entirely to her, more to myself, because everyone else looked like they'd witnessed something they weren't supposed to see. She tried to pivot to small talk, the food, the heat, the kids, but I was already somewhere else mentally, tracing the cracks in our marriage that had been spreading quietly, slowly, while I stared in the wrong direction. By the time the sun dipped below the trees and the last guest started leaving, my phone buzzed. Messages from friends I hadn't spoken to in months. "You good? Saw what happened today. Man, that was rough." A public joke. A private wound exposed. The whole thing played out like a spectacle, and I was the only one who didn't know I was on stage. I knew then I couldn't just sweep it aside. Not this time. When the final car pulled away and the backyard fell silent, Laura moved to the porch with a glass of water. She probably expected me to follow, to pretend, to patch over the afternoon like I always did. But I stayed in the shadows, letting the silence speak. "Jason," she called softly, uncertain. I didn't mean anything. I swear it was just a joke. I stepped into the porch light, meeting her eyes. "A joke." My voice was quiet, calmer than I felt. "You think offering me up to another man in front of our friends is funny?" Her smile faltered. The mask slipped. She opened her mouth, searching for something to say, but nothing came out. "This isn't about humor," I said. "This is about respect. And today, you showed me exactly what I am to you." She swallowed hard, eyes glistening. I didn't think it mattered. I was just trying to be funny. "It matters," I said, "because it confirms everything I felt but tried to ignore." The last bit of anger inside me burned out, leaving only clarity. I'd spent too long pretending not to see the truth. I turned toward the door. "I'm done explaining myself. I'm done protecting whatever this is. You made your joke, Laura. Now you can live with what it revealed. Her breath caught. Jason, wait. I'm leaving tonight. I walked through the yard one last time. Past the chairs. Past the grill. Past the place where everyone had watched my dignity get chipped away and pretended it was harmless. She kept calling after me, voice cracking, but it didn't reach me. When I reached my car, a strange calm washed over me. Not victory. Not anger. Relief. Betrayal steals your peace in slow, quiet ways, but taking it back, that feels like breathing again. I started the engine and looked at the house once more in the rearview mirror. Laura stood alone on the porch, froze in the warm glow of the light. Shocked, ashamed, finally understanding the weight of what she'd done. The neighbors would talk. They'd speculate. They'd fill in the blanks. But none of that mattered anymore. Some truths only surface when the consequences arrive. And as I drove away, one thing became painfully, undeniably clear. Leaving wasn't the end of our story. It was the beginning of finally telling the truth.